Remember, we're sponsored by Super 6. There's over 10,000 people in our mini league. Club 23 is the code. Overall, the winner of the Club Mini League at the end of the season will get a prize that money cannot buy. Yes, you will be in the club's 11 to take on pitch side, and we are going to be taking this very, very seriously.
We're in training already. We're in pre-season.
Yep, we've already in pre-season. We've made a few recruits. We've brought in Miles from Filthy Fellas on loan for that game. Yeah, apparently he's going to be left back.
I'm not saying it.
Oh, you want to say it?
No. You brought no. I said position. He's a left back.
Can't do that.
You do the terrible joke,
mate. You asked.
No, I don't want to.
Oh, you do the terrible jokes that I did earlier.
Did I ask for the setup? No, I didn't ask for the setup.
Yeah, you didn't ask for setup. We'll be playing against Pitchside if they've got any players, because I know one of their likes to go around breaking everyone's bones. He broke his own bone the other day.
Yeah,
got no hips left.
He's a lunatic.
Took Tom's arms out.
He's a hurricane, isn't he? He's a complete tour de force. Terrified of the man.
So even if you've not in our league yet, there's only been 7 game weeks gone. Most of us are useless at it as well. So join our league, Club 23. You could still be the one, or like they did on the old adverts, could be you.
Start, bench, sell. I'm loving these. Let's go to Rodri, Busquets, and Kante in their prime. Start, bench, and sell those 3. I can start maybe just because Rodri's mentioned
the easiest
first
in the world, isn't it?
I think it's
the easiest one ever.
I can only say to Rodri, his ceiling can go to the Busquets level. He might not win the World Cup because the national side he's playing for isn't as talented as Busquets had. But Rodri's ability on the ball is close to Busquets. His physicality is something that Busquets could never compete with. But until we see a 35-year-old Rodri at the back end of his career, we can put him in the same
I think
category.
at the moment you are right. I think Rodri's slightly hard done by on this debate just simply through timing. Like if we're having this debate in a decade, maybe Rodri features slightly higher.
I go Busquets.
Oh, slow down a bit, mate. Slow down, mate. We want people to watch the video to the end.
Oh, sorry.
Slow down.
I'll tell you in a
let's
bit
explore.
who I think.
Yeah, exactly. Hold tight. Retention's very big on YouTube these days, I hear. So I think we should probably just look. But there's a wonderful quote about Busquets, isn't there? You know the quote.
You don't see him, and he's having a good game. Bosque said it.
Yes, it's not that. I mean, it's nearly that. Yeah. You're on the right line.
Put it again.
Yeah, you're on the right line. No, it basically says if you watch Busquets, you don't.
If you see Busquets, you see the whole.
If you watch the game,
if you watch the game, you might not see Busquets.
Yeah, correct. There you go.
Beautiful.
There you go. And I think that's perfectly put. I think it's a very.
It was perfectly put.
It was perfectly put by Boovie, ironically.
Thanks very much.
But no, I think it tells you everything you need to know. You don't feature in the team that he featured in, one of the best midfields ever, without the skill. Do you know the other thing about him that I don't think people would necessarily see? I actually saw it on the internet the other day. A compilation of the skill, picking the ball up in a very tricky position. Have you seen
doing
it?
360s and all that.
Picking the ball up, marks. Generally speaking, you play it into a player's feet. If you play a ball into a player's feet and there's a man on his back, it's a bad pass. With him, you just roll it into his feet and he'll roll the defender.
Sometimes you don't touch it.
Two of them.
Yeah.
A drag back and an immediate burst of pace through the middle of them.
I think if anyone's out there saying Kante with Busquets, I don't think you understand football.
No, but I don't think anybody would.
I think there's people out there who would say the Leicester City story. I think the top tier of football is if you can dominate a game, then that's the best. The best players dominated football matches. But Kante did a job when you couldn't dominate a side. When Leicester City were limited, when Chelsea were limited at points.
Also, I think what you call Kante at his best is domination, though, right? He dominated teams.
I'd rather have players that were better on the ball.
That's mine.
Yeah,
but I'd rather have players that are better on the ball than off the ball. And Kante's the best.
Kante's
maybe
not bad on the ball.
No, but he's not. He's not Busquets on the ball. That's why he won't be. That's why he doesn't start.
He's still very good on the ball. That's why he could play for Chelsea.
He wasn't very good on the ball. He was decent on the ball.
Do you know what? If both in their prime, both at Barcelona in that era, does the manager accommodate both? Or does he pick one or the other?
He plays Busquets, Xavi, and Iniesta. It's the best midfield in the history of football.
And Kante is only on the bench.
Kante made Danny Drinkwater good enough to win the league in a really poor Premier League season.
No, he also bought the league title. Hang on, well,
no, I know he did more than that. He won the Champions League, won the World Cup. I love Kante, but Busquets, his highest level, we've never seen midfielders do what
Kante,
he can do.
You can
dominating the ball at 70% possession against likes of
like that Kante Chelsea era, particularly the first team, the first year that he came and won the league. It was basically unplayable. Obviously, retaining the league, bringing the league Premier League title with him was unbelievable. I don't know. I mean, I'm inclined to agree. But I think it's an interesting question. Not necessarily the way what we would do, but if a manager had the wonderful problem of Kante, Busquets, Xavi, and Iniesta. Does he? Do you think?
Don't get a sniff
Do you think?
because of the way everything else works, and it's like that's the Messiah there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But then
You'd sign Kante in a struggling side, wouldn't you? You'd sign
not
Kante in a
necessarily. I mean,
side that isn't
France-
quite there.
No, but Chelsea weren't struggling.
Chelsea weren't struggling.
I'm not saying you were struggling, but I think you
France
brought your
weren't
level up.
struggling.
That Chelsea side weren't a generational side.
Well, the Champions League.
That side wasn't actually
weren't favourites to
generational
win
side,
it.
but I'd say
they weren't favourites to win it.
I'd say the side with.
But there's difference in
I'd say
football,
the
isn't there?
side of
Busquets was at the top team, and he was one of the best players in the top
The
team.
side that won the league with Antonio Conte was,
it was strong.
93
It was
points.
strong.
93 points.
You know what I'm
Come
trying
on.
to say?
on. Yeah.
Kante filled more gaps. Busquets dominated the
answer
ball. Oh, I've said it, Busquets.
So is it
Then
Busquets, then who?
Then it has to be Kante on the bench to come and change the
Oh.
game. Yeah, I'm never going to say I can't say Rodri yet.
Oh, you know what? I agree with you. I thought
yeah.
you were going to go Rodri. So
I just think
was
the
about to
Busquets
do the
debate is a
defensive
real one.
Kante.
There's no real
Oh, no,
debate.
no,
Is,
there's no debate.
is there anybody in the world, just to quickly, before we move on to the next one, is there anybody in the Busquets role that you would put above Busquets? Is there any player that's ever played that position? Like, would you maybe make a case for anybody else?
No.
Casemiro
Take it
is
for
best.
me.
But no, I know, but there's more than one way to play.
Yeah,
Like, you
yeah,
don't
no.
have to play Busquets just
But
whack.
it's like depends what you're for Barcelona.
4-3-3.
No,
I think
not
Lille
for
is the
Barcelona.
perfect
Not
one.
for an imaginary football
Yeah, I
team
know, I
where
know.
we're picking the three players.
I like Carrick. I don't think he's better than.
Oh my.
But Carrick was very
Please.
good and incredibly underrated.
Carrick.
Mate,
Is there
he did
anybody-
it at the
is
top
there-
of the
is there
game,
anybody
bro.
else?
Why
Yeah,
you
but-
I don't get. If Carrick was Spanish, you'd be on your knees
Nowhere
chopping him
near
off. It's
Busquets.
true. No,
Nowhere near
I did-
Busquets, bro.
I just said Busquets is the one, but I
They're
said
similar players,
Carrick
fine.
was
I thought
of
you-
that
I thought
ilk.
you were
He won the
comparing
Champions
them in
League with
terms of
Man
quality.
United, dominated
He's
Europe.
nowhere near Bush. He's a tenth of Busquets.
I did it, but you're arguing something I didn't say.
Fine.
I brought him in as someone that's very similar, does
Yeah,
similar
fine.
kind
And
of
that
thing.
is true. That is true.
In terms of today's players, we haven't really got that anymore, have we? You know, that kind of ball dominant, ball retention, tricky central midfielder. Doesn't really.
Rodri is the closest, and he has to be this massive
But he's
unit.
something
It's built
else,
like a
isn't he?
centre-back,
He's,
really.
he's that,
Yeah.
but he's also
he has to
something
be
else.
more. I don't know if Busquets could he thrive in today's
Yes.
physicality?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a question.
He played for Pep's Barca team. Of course he could.
Yeah.
It's basically the
just saying
same
a
thing.
question. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the same.
Okay, so we're all in agreement. Anyway, it goes Busquets, Kante, Rodri, but Rodri with a kind of asterisk. We'll discuss it in a decade.
Yeah.
Vidic, Company, Van Dijk. I think this one's equally easy, you know?
That's in order.
Agreed.
You said it
Agreed.
in order.
I agree.
You said it.
I think
Vidic won two-time Player of the Year in the Premier League. Has never been done by a defender before. Back-to-back Champions League. Back-to-back Premier Leagues. Champions League in there. One part of the best Premier League partnerships you've ever seen. There can obviously be arguments over that, although I don't believe there is one. He was also part of the team. Him, Van der Sar, Rio, Vidic, Evra, and it was Wes Brown / Gary Neville held that record for the most clean sheets in the Premier League, longest minutes without conceding a goal. For me, it has to be Vidic. But in Company, you have someone that's obviously has a lot of memorable goals and moments. He was also an incredible defender. He was with City from like their come up, so you kind of get those memories of him.
Yeah.
And Van Dijk has obviously been an elite centre back at periods in his career.
I think do you know what's interesting about this? I agree with the order. I think Vidic, Company, Van Dijk.
Yeah.
But I would also say that Van Dijk, in terms of like one single season, you know, when we play that game and we've often said like Luis Suarez for a single season, or we've said maybe Fernando Torres for a single season. I think if we were to play this game, Vidic, Company, Van Dijk, just who's had the best 1 year, is the answer to that not Van Dijk?
Yeah, I think there's a.
Would you agree with that?
Unplayable.
I don't know, because again, it's kind of, maybe you could argue on base, not on, but when Vidic, but Vidic was a big part of that as well. Going that long without conceding a goal, especially with the way we played football, we were very
Attacking,
attacking.
yeah.
Keeping that length for clean sheets, winning those players of the year. That's massive. Like, when does a centre back do that?
Hey, mate, you're not
Obviously,
wrong. You're not
Van
wrong.
Dijk was elite, and I think especially. But then, if you look at the era Van Dijk was elite in, there's not been as many centre backs that you look at and go.
Yeah.
In Vidic's era, this was just the Premier League was just abundance of them. Like,
What
you
about-
couldn't move for
What-
elite centre back.
What about you? Are you gonna presumably? How highly do you rate Company?
I rate him above Van Dijk in terms of Premier League legacy. I think the Van Dijk argument for one season, I think he is above Vidic in terms of a single season, his quality on the ball, his leadership, guiding Liverpool back to winning the Premier League.
Revolution that he inspired in that team.
Yeah, I think his level as a total centre-back, dominating every aspect of every game. It felt like Van Dijk dominated defensively. I don't think we have seen that from Vidic. But that's because Vidic was part of a better all-round team than that Liverpool side. I think Kompany gets a lot closer to Vidic. I can't put him ahead of Vidic, but I think he was better on the ball. I think he had more moments of kind of individual leadership where he took games by the scruff of the neck. Obviously played in worse sides than Vidic did, obviously the early City sides. I think there's more iconic moments from Kompany in the Premier League era. The goal against Leicester City, the goal against Man United in the 1-0 to win the Premier League for the first time. I think overall, I think you have to put in Vidic first.
And Kane, Rooney, Shearer. Now this is so hard.
It's a battle of the elite British, English strikers. Sorry, they're all English. I will talk about Wayne Rooney, obviously. What a player. What a man. Obviously, when you look at Kane and Shearer, they were probably bigger goal getters, goal scorers. But I think when you look at, as a footballer, the variety of goals, the different tricks, skills that he would perform, the chips, the lobs, everything. I'm not saying Shearer and Kane haven't scored those, but Wayne Rooney for me was the better footballer. And he could become that main man striker, play up front and score 35 goals a season if asked to. But he sacrificed a lot of that at times as well. But for me, Rooney I think Rooney is the iconic Premier League player.
I think there's an interesting debate here for me. Like really interesting, because I don't even know my own answer, but it actually doesn't involve Wayne Rooney. It's now the debate between Kane and Shearer, because I would always argue for Shearer over the years. I would always say, that 260 goal tally, just Shearer, back of the net, Shearer, back of the net, Shearer. And I never really thought that I would reappraise that. And suddenly, I just think Harry Kane is... it's now a conversation. So my answer is... Wayne Rooney top in terms of this start bench cell. Wayne Rooney start, and I now don't know the rest of my answer.
See, I know that answer. Like personally, me, and you may disagree of how easy I make it because you're obviously torn a little bit. I think it's easily Kane.
Do you?
I think it's.
I thought you were going to say the other way because you don't really like Kane.
I think Alan Shearer was a phenomenal goal scorer, and he did it on a long-term basis. We obviously got to see him do it in the Champions League as well, so I'm not, I'm going to take that away from him, but. Harry Kane, man, like
I don't know. I don't know, man.
I don't know either.
Still not want to. As of today,
Harry
he's
Kane
not won
put
a
more
trophy.
fear in me than Shearer.
No, not for me. Not prime Shearer. The goals that
Your
he
City
led.
defence is back there, though. Great.
Why are you bringing Richard Dunn into the conversation? Look, until I see Harry Kane lift a trophy where his goals are contributed, and by the way, they are at the moment. Bayern Munich top of the league. They're winning big games. They've just smashed you in the Champions League. Maybe in 12 months they're going to win the Champions League with Harry Kane. But at the moment, Shearer in his prime, with the record of winning the Premier League, the record of leading Newcastle, some poor Newcastle sides, but Rooney starts all day long. Generational talent.
So Rooney, you agree Rooney won?
Yeah, and then Shearer off the bench for me.
Shearer.
There's more.
Shearer over Kane.
There's more evidence. There's more proof.
Yeah, I'm leaning the other way, to be honest. I'm leaning more Kane over Shearer. In fact, that's my answer. Kane over Shearer.
I think that's correct. Rooney,
Kane, Shearer.
Shearer.
Yeah.
Harry Kane.
Okay, that brings us to a part of this podcast that is very, very important. So please do concentrate. We have the opportunity for you to win £250,000. All you need to do is download the Super 6 app. It is completely free for you to play. It will not cost you a penny. And if you predict 6 scorelines correct, you will win £250,000. You have the opportunity of doing it twice this week. So please help support the club. Make sure that you download Super 6. Join our mini league, which is Club 23. The games that you have to predict correct in the Carabao Cup this week are Chelsea versus Brighton. Don't say anything. I felt like you two were going to jump on me, but they didn't, which is kind.
You're down bad at the moment. I'm just leaving you to it.
Chelsea versus Brighton. Brentford versus Arsenal. Liverpool versus Leicester. Aston Villa versus Everton. Fulham versus Norwich. And Newcastle versus Manchester City. If you predict those 6 games totally correct, you will win £250,000.
It's a difficult one as well because, Arsenal could go to Brentford, rest a few players, get beat. You don't know how that one could go. Chelsea, Brighton might rest a few players. Chelsea might get a win.
Chelsea might get a win.
You know what I mean?
They might get a win.
I mean, Chelsea have already got a good record in that. We've already beaten AFC Wimbledon.
Oh, yeah. That was a big win.
I'll give you one. Liverpool will lose against Leicester.
Leicester have been flying, by the way.
Yeah, Vardy.
2-1.
I'm not telling you mine. I know
Norwich
that's
were
not.
flying until they got slapped by Plymouth. Did you see that?
Yeah, beautiful.
I don't think it's in keeping with the spirit of the club and the spirit of our audience, but I don't want to tell you my results because I want to win the 250,000.
You really do, and you'll do anything for that 250.
Very
Need it,
competitive.
mate.
Very,
You
very
really would.
competitive.
And you guys can really rub it in if you win it before him. So make sure you join in our league, Club 23. Make sure you're downloading Super 6. The fixtures for the Premier League are, Boovie?
Wolves versus Man City, Bournemouth versus Arsenal, Man United versus Crystal Palace, Newcastle versus Burnley, Tottenham versus Liverpool, and of course Nottingham Forest versus Brentford. Some massive games there. I think for City, going to Wolves, tough place to go. Made it hard for Liverpool, obviously a couple of weeks ago.
Made it hard for us.
Crystal Palace, they're going to pick up a big win at Old Trafford as well. But Tottenham Liverpool, that is a juicy game. If Liverpool smack up Spurs, they're
Are we doing that
serious
game?
title contenders.
That'll be fun, That'll be fun, that game. I love doing games that I can proper enjoy.
Yeah, no, it'll be a very
Just as a
exciting game.
neutral.
It will be a very exciting game.